Hi, and welcome to Tiger Art. Today we're going to be learning about the Kuna Indians. The Kuna Indians are a native group of people who live in a place that's in Central America. The countries nowadays are known as Panama and Colombia. So I just threw a bunch of words at you. Let's break that down. First, let's talk about where in the world this is. We live on the continent of North America. If we were to travel south from North America, you would run into South America. In the center between those two, you would have a very clever name, I know it, Central America. Central America is that skinny strip between North and South America on the map. If you find the skinniest part there, that's where you will find the country called Panama. You can always remember where it is because Panama is where the Panama Canal is. And what that means is it's a place where it has been constructed and dug out so that boats can get from one ocean to the other. Before the Panama Canal, boats would have to sail all the way around the tip of South America. Now that would take a very long time. If you were going to dig out the land, you wouldn't say dig through Mexico. That's why it's not the Mexico Canal, because that size of land is much bigger. If you want to find where Panama is and you just happen to remember the Panama Canal, it makes sense that it would be in the skinniest part, so you wouldn't have to dig and build over such a big span. So that's where you can find where Panama is, and that's where this group of people known as the Kuna Indians come from. They're native people that live there, and they make these things called molas. They're beautiful, they're made of fabric. Usually they would be worn by women as like a shirt. And when the woman gets tired of the shirt, or she wants to, or it starts to fade, she might cut it, the front and the back, and sell it to tourists. So they're very popular with tourists, or somebody who visits Panama may want to bring home an authentic mola. Let's look at some molas right now and see what makes a mola a mola. So what's the first thing you notice here? First thing I notice is that it's an animal. Looks like a hummingbird. I also see a flower. So we have an animal and a plant. What else do we see? We see that the background is black. That's very common in a mola. What else? I would describe it as very brightly colored or very colorful. The black helps those colors really pop and stand out against that background. Some other things you might notice is the use of lines and repeating lines like a pattern, and a focus on basic shapes. Let's look at some other molas and kind of piece all those things together. Here we have some more birds. And I also see some leaves. Do we see a black background? Yes, we do. Do we see line work and repeating lines that form patterns? Absolutely. Here's another example of a mola. This one's very intricately detailed, and it has many little lines of patterns in there. So we see animals and plants again, but once again, we see all of those same characteristics. With this one, I wanted to talk about what's common in a mola. So some common things are to have lines that are going up and down that are repeating, meaning like the same colored line over and over again. Look at the background of this mola. This is something I've noticed quite a bit. What the artist has done is they have split up the background into like a grid of squares or rectangles or like these smaller shapes. Then inside each shape, there's lines that go up and down that are all the same color. The next shape to the side or top or bottom of it has a different color but the same type of pattern, just repeating vertical lines. Notice how the fish is outlined with one color and then outlined again outside of that with another color. So you can kind of stack these outlines with various colors in a sequence or a repeating pattern of colors, and it makes the animal or the plant or whatever is in the mola, it makes it stand out. It really emphasizes that shape. That's going to be important. This one is quite a bit simpler, but when I see this, it gives me the idea that we could probably make something like this using some tools that we have. A mola is traditionally made of fabric that is cut into very detailed and intricate small shapes and then hand sewn together. That would take a lot of expertise and a lot of time and some materials that we don't really have. So we are going to use what we have available. What do we have in the art room? We have lots of paper. So I've sent home a good supply of paper for you that I hope you've been using. We will begin today with just a basic drawing. Now when we draw this, we want to think of an animal or a plant, or both. But it has to be something that's an animal or a plant. It shouldn't be something that's made up, like a dragon or something. That's not like a real animal. The whole idea of this is to study native peoples and how they make art that represents the world around them. So in that time, they were looking out at nature and making art that represents that, animals and plants of the natural environment. For today, you're going to be doing some drawing practice and figuring out what the mola will be and starting to lay out your page and get it all ready to go. Okay, so for today, you want to focus on animals or plants that can be thought of as just simple shapes. So animals and plants that would make good molas are usually ones that have just a few very simple shapes. Like I've had students before think, okay, I'm going to draw a dog. Well, if you think of the full body of the dog, that's a lot of shapes and it's a lot of details that you probably really don't have time to get into here. You're going to be working with a size paper that's the same as this, and you're going to be using cut pieces of paper on it that are this big. So if your piece of paper that actually makes the picture is this big, are you really going to be able to get teeny tiny details in the shapes? No, you won't, because the details are smaller than the pieces themselves. It would be like trying to draw a picture that's smaller than the tip of my pencil. That would make no sense and it would be impossible. So think of animals and plants that have big basic shapes, like leaves work good, flowers work excellent, fish are always good. I've seen students make very nice looking shark molas, butterflies because they have just a few big simple shapes. I've seen all kinds of stuff, so I'm going to roll through as many of these as I can think of right now. You will need a piece of white paper and a pencil for today's part. So let's think of what's the easiest way to split this page up. I'm going to split it in half by folding. So I take the left side, I move it over to the right side, and I fold it right there. I take the bottom and I bring it up to the top. Now I have 4 equal parts. So if I think of this as 4 on the front, 4 on the back, I got 8 chances to figure out one animal or plant that I really like and want to use. So I'm going to think of this as being divided. Alright, I'm going to start just up here and I'm going to think of a basic fish. A basic fish could be thought of as just a few very simple shapes. I would first see how the fish has either an oval or like a long kind of football shape for its body. Then I could think of its fins as triangles. So one tip I'll give you right off the bat is don't hold your pencil like this. Hold it up a little higher. That allows you to see your whole picture and control the pressure. Your goal here is to draw as lightly as possible, because you are going to change some stuff. So I'm going to sketch in very lightly the basic shape. I want to make this big and I want it in the center. I don't want to draw my fish being this small, awkwardly off in the corner of the page. That's not a good design. So when I lightly sketch that in, then I'm going to lightly sketch in some of these other parts. These are just basic shapes first. They're triangles. So then I can go around a little bit darker and maybe add a little bit of those surface details, but not much, and just kind of round things off, make it look better, because they were triangles before and I needed them to be more fin-like. So then I can add some details, but I don't want to go overboard here. If I decide to get really detailed in here into, what if I started putting individual scales on this? Is that really going to work out with using pieces that are this big? No. You'd be able to get just basic outlining shapes. Don't worry about like the small divided background shapes and stuff. That comes later. We're only worried about the very basic shapes that make up your animal or plant. So your drawing could, if you wanted a fish, could look something like this. What if you wanted a shark? You could modify that, and instead of making it so wide, make it thinner and longer, and it's the same kind of shape, but it's skinny and long, and it's still in the center, it's still taking up most of the page, right to left. Then the back fins just get changed. The top one is a triangle, and the bottom one is a triangle, but it's smaller. The top fin up here is also a triangle, and then there's two triangular fins that stick off the bottom, and then you have an eye and a mouth. Now that I have the basic shapes of my shark, I can add some of the curves that make it look more shark-like. Could I get these lines in there? I think I probably could. Could I get any more details than that? I doubt it. What about a whale? Sticking with the undersea theme here. A whale is kind of the same, but it's not pointy. It's long like this, and then it's got a little tail. If you make the tail small, it makes the whale seem bigger. Just a tip. So then you make the mouth really long, you move the eye back, and you can even do like one of those little curly fins that's on top. So there's my whale, my shark, my fish. What about an octopus? Probably not a good idea. Too many shapes that are too skinny and too close together. So think of things that are basic shapes. Like this is just one big basic shape with a few others on, like tacked onto it. What about things like, students a lot of times ask me, what can I do a dog? My answer is usually you could do like just the head of one of those animals would be better. So what if you made like a dog like this, and you wanted it big in the center? So you started with kind of this type of shape and then this type of shape, and coming up, over, down, over like this. This is where the nose is. This is where the eyes are. You got a mouth. You could even maybe do a little tongue, and you got an ear. So that's like the basic shape of a dog. That could work very well. What else? Things like cats, bunnies. Think of like a cartoon of one. So what if your animal or plant made more sense to do up and down, not side to side? I would say, yeah, fit it whatever way it goes. So if you're gonna do like a bunny where it's got really tall ears, go ahead and put the bunny's head a little lower on this. Use it upside or going up and down, and then make yourself your big long bunny ears. Remember, we're thinking about this like a cartoon, because it's big basic shapes. So yeah, basic shapes of that. What else could we do? We could try a turtle. Would be a good one. So a turtle would be, you could draw a turtle like this from the side, where you draw the shell, and then you have the head and the feet coming out. You could even draw like maybe a couple of these lines on it. That's about all you would need for that. Or you could draw a turtle from the top, where you draw the shell as an oval. You make the head coming out like this. Could be a sea turtle, where this is more of a tortoise. lives on land. And you draw your lines on the back like that. So that could be good. This could be good. Think of an animal that has big basic shapes and you're going to be a lot better off. Once you think you have one, I want you to focus in on just that drawing. So let's say I'm going to focus in on just the turtle that I'm looking at from the side. So I put that over here so that I can look at it as I'm drawing. You're going to get a black piece of paper, and you can draw on the black paper just with regular pencil. If you wanted to use a white colored pencil so it shows up better, that's fine. If I was doing this for my own personal project and nobody was watching me, I'd probably use a pencil, but you won't be able to see that on my camera. So I'm going to use like a white oil crayon instead, just to make sure that everybody can really see this. Now here's a tip. This is kind of cool. This proportions of this rectangle, like this side compared to that side, is exactly the same as this paper. So that means you could take this picture and like zoom into it and enlarge it, and it would fill this page perfectly. So if I got it right here, like right in the center and nice and big, then if I put that right where it is on this page, it will come out perfect. If you didn't get it right, here's another chance to try again. If you mess this up real good and you don't like it at all, you've always got the back. So I want to start once again with the biggest, most basic shape, drawing very lightly. Once again, you should be using a pencil for this, or something that isn't permanent, because you can erase that. So I got the head coming out here, and then I got the feet. So that's my basic part of the turtle here. Once I have that done, that's a good place to stop today. So here's your to-do list. You need 4 small drawings, and you need 1 of them that's enlarged on black. You do not need to take a picture of this today and submit. You need to take a picture of this today. This is what I want to see. 4 drawings of the animals. Then I'm going to trust you that you put one of them big and in the center on the black piece, because next class you're going to be working right on this piece with these little cut pieces of paper. Okay, boys and girls, I hope you have fun drawing these. Don't stress out over the perfect drawing. I wanted this to be simple. That's why I picked things that are made up of very basic shapes. My drawing tips are to always draw light. Hold your pencil up here like this. Draw the biggest, simplest shapes first, and get that laid out in the center of your space so that you don't end up with little teeny tiny drawings off to the side. Don't draw like this right in the beginning where you're pushing really hard, because if that needs changed, you go to erase it and it doesn't really erase. If I need to make changes to my fish like this one, I just go in there and lightly erase them, and that's fine, like as I cover up those light outlines with one that looks better. So get a good drawing going, and then 3 more different ideas so that you have choices. Think of animals and plants. Take a picture and submit.